Hi, hi, happy Saturday and welcome back to my channel. My name is Swamp Rose, and I should say welcome back to my channel because I know some of you have been here before, but if you've just stumbled onto this live stream, uh, in this podcast, I cover the case against Brian Koberger, otherwise known as the Idaho 4 case. And today we are talking about some updates in current events in the case. So I'm going to be talking about a video I released yesterday and the reactions that people have given me, because there are a couple things that you may have thought of or you may not have thought of yet. And I'm also going to talk about the other thing, which is our biggest update, which is there is a hearing coming up on the 7th, and we're going to find out what the arguments exactly are from the state. We know what the defense is saying, but from the state, whether the death penalty will remain in this case. So we've got a lot to talk about, and we're going to get right into it. And I see we have a couple of people in the chat. Thank you for joining me. We just wrapped up a long members live, so some people might be live streamed out at this point. So what is bringing this all into conversation is this new video that was released by Minister Wilson, Doug Wilson, the leader of the Christ Church. And this video was released yesterday. So this video has obviously a lot of imagery in it. But right off the bat, what do you notice about this video? I ask you. Drop it in the chat. But I ask you as a viewer, what do you notice about this video? I'm going to play it so you can hear the music. I'm going to play 10 seconds, and then I want you to know the first thing you see in the video. The obvious. It's Mr. Rogers. So, okay, for me, when I first saw it, I was not necessarily thinking about like the Rogers part of it. I was thinking about the neighbor part of it. You know, he's using the term neighbor, you know, your neighbor, the Christian term. There's a lot of symbolism for neighbor. Maybe it's a Papa Rogers themed video. But this is about a video about how you handle your meekness and your disposition. So it's kind of odd that he would choose Roger. But the other counter theory, and the theory you're going to see when I start bringing this in, is he trying to talk about the case in some way? Other people have said that he's leaving Easter eggs in this about I don't know if he was talking about the Idaho 4 case, but talking about his relationship maybe with, well, I don't want to do too many speculations here. We're going to let the comment section do the speculation. But I want to point this out, that this is Mr. Rogers' theme. And in case you haven't seen this video, we're going to play the whole thing. And then we're going to get into comments. And this isn't the only update I have for you guys. I have an incredible reaction to give you in a little bit, but this has to be addressed because there's been so many comments since I released this video yesterday.
Well, hello there, neighbor. Welcome to No Quarter November. Neighbor. So, for 11 months out of the year, I am nothing but a sweetheart, blanketing everything I do and say with careful qualification and gentle reason.
I mean, the overall metaphor, like when we don't want to read deep into this, I mean, Jeff H., we just got done with a members only live, where we discussed this in depth. And one of the points that Jeff H. was bringing up to all of us is, hey, look, Christians are generally considered nice people. They're meek. What does meek mean? Meek means you have power and you don't use it. You have the snappy comeback. You have the blah, 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 but you don't use it. You have power and you wield it back. That's what meekness means. So Christians, generally speaking, are meek people. And this is him saying, this is your time to speak up. And, so I guess that's what it could mean, but I doubt it. I'm just joking.
From December to October, you may have noticed that my prose is as winsome and inoffensive as room temperature bath water. My blog is as calm and well-behaved as the pandemic PCA. But in November,
we are going to stop right there, Mr. Wilson. Oh, yes, Mr. Wilson. The reason I'm stopping right there is, what did he just say? Did you guys catch that? Did you catch that?
Pandemic PCA.
Let's hear it again.
Calm and well-behaved as the pandemic PCA.
As well behaved as the pandemic PCA. What's that, you guys? What's the pandemic PCA? Do you know? Is the pandemic PCA have anything to do with that? Comments, guys? Comments, guys? What's the pandemic PCA? During the pandemic, there was something called Stickergate, right? But I should probably clarify exactly what that is for somebody who might not know. So in this town, as we all know, when we were faced with medical protocols to try and keep us safe during the shmamic, many people, essentially in America, the government, in some instances, had emergency orders, but for the most part, the power that they had, we wielded to them. So we said, okay, well, we know you're doing this to keep us safe. We'll let you enforce these rules that have that aren't legislated and aren't on the books. Sure. Make your little circles that will stand in and go that direction and this direction, wear this, don't wear that, blah, blah, blah. Stickergate was about that. They were pointing out the fact that there is no legislation here, but you're actually enforcing laws on us. So they had all of these protests, and one of them was this Stickergate. And I'm sorry if I didn't deliver that right. I'm not talking with a lot of talent today. But Stickergate was about that. They created these stickers with a sickle and hammer, and this was a protest against the very strict shmamic laws in the area. And remember that little sickle and hammer right there.
As calm and well-behaved as the pandemic PCA.
As calm and well-behaved as the pandemic PCA. So is that what he's referencing? Let me know. Drop it in the chat. Let's keep going. It's going to come up in a second. That's why I'm bringing it up to you. I'm going to make a point out of it.
But in November, my neighborliness takes a different tone. November is the month where my subtlety, nuance, and qualifications go the way of ballots in Maricopa County or testosterone in the SBC. November is the month where my subtlety goes bye-bye.
I see the first one. I didn't know that.
You know, I've been called all kinds of names, but I might be best known as a bridge builder. I do love building bridges.
Okay. Mr. Sentinel says the city of Moscow went ham on political protests against the COVID-19. You know, that Papa Rogers account, let's just get right into it. We're gonna be talking about Papa Rogers. Let's just not, we've already talked about the Rogers theme, so you know where I'm going with that. And then you've just seen that shmamic PCA comment. There was a PCA because of Stickergate, right? And what's interesting is when we talk about the prosecution of Stickergate, something sticks out about that case. Like the prosecutor set a line. They said, and Heather's here, she'll type it right in. But verbatim, it basically said, we can't give you what we don't have. Where have we heard that line before? We heard it in the hearings with Brian Kohlberger. So it's interesting. We hear the Papa Rogers, we know about that, and then we hear him saying that comment about a Schmier and Smemick PCA, and then we know that canned response that we both heard in Idaho floor case and in Stickergate. Let me keep going.
The thing about bridges is that every one of them is an invitation to people on the other side to come over and play. Some of those people might hate you. Some might just be simple or scared or naive. Some are enemies or trolls or federal agents who are best left under the bridge. Those are the ones who will try to steer and poison whatever you're doing.
Okay, so some of them are trolls or federal agents. So trolls, so somebody trolling the church. I don't know where, like what, like in the church, like magazines. I don't know where he's trolling them. Maybe he's putting stuff out on social media, but the feds. So are the feds investigating Christ Church, or is he talking about the incident where we know there were at least 60 federal agents there 2 years ago? Because he brings it up like 3 or 4 times. Don't feed the feds. Don't take the bait. I don't know. Feds crossing the bridge. We have to listen, you know. I don't know. Don't listen to me. Let's go.
If you let them come across. Every bridge could make you stronger, or it could destroy everything you want to defend.
Everything is so
and
weird.
Protect. I burned it all, but bridges, nothing burns quite like a bridge does. Happy November. Whatever you do this month, don't feed the trolls or the feds. Don't let them feed you. Don't take the bait. Don't play with fire, but burn whatever bridges you need to burn. Oh, and thanks for being my neighbor. You can cross my bridge anytime you want.
I'm going to stop right there. So I'm going to make a bold statement because it's been said on numerous occasions. One of my mods reached out to this man and left him a comment saying Ellie is trying to, you know, is not Ellie, I'm sorry. Somebody could possibly be trying to draw connections back to Christ Church in this Papa Rogers character. And I'm going to show you that in a second, you guys. I have the connection. I've done the research. So we're going to finish this video, and then I'm going to show you why I do feel the symbolism in Papa Rogers was meant to tie it back to Stickergate. You know, it's all speculation. I could be wrong, but just laying it out like I see it.
Unless you're a Fed.
Bye. Wait. I didn't.
Sing a song if you be this prophet.
Well, Vivian, I'm going to stop right there. Vivian, that's interesting. I mean, I don't want to read the comment out loud, but you guys can read it. There's been a lot of accusations of SA and former members. Interesting. And right above it, so this is going back to the Fed's comment, and I like this, Viv, I'm not trying to call you Viv, sorry. I like this, Vivian. This does explain why we would be hearing about federal agents in another context. Hold on, let me go back. Meanie, I'm glad you can make it. You can see the link. All right. So guys, let's finish the video because I mean, Why not?
Swan with the boy sling. Cable load, breaking stones, no fear about a scrolling bones. You better beware. Wash these sins so we fight like we don't care. Praying for trouble, making sparks in the fire on. Water the altar, but it's still gonna light up.
So,
one of the things that the Moscow Mood is known for is, let's be frank, all the horsing around. But I would not be misunderstood. It is deadly serious horsing around. We really do mean it.
all right. So again, Doug, Mr. Wilson, if you're watching this, please don't strike me. I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm just trying to figure out where your ambiguous, mysterious symbolism is. Let's pull up Papa Rogers. I set this all up before you guys logged on because I really wanted this to flow nicely. And today I am doing a little bit of a deeper dive on the Papa Rogers profile. And there was a reaction video that was done recently to my most recent video about Papa Rogers that sort of affiliate Papa Rogers with somebody who I'm going to call Chef Dizzy, just because I don't feel appropriate affiliating his name with this account quite yet. So I'm going to show you this response video and we're just going to break it down. But before I begin showing it to you, I want to say I really enjoyed this video. Crime Lies and Videotapes put so much effort into researching Papa Rogers. And that's the point, is like we're supposed to spend time breaking these things down and analyzing them, not just forming our own personal opinions about something. I'm going to begin with Papa Rogers. So let me start by showing you this picture right here. The artist who submitted this photograph, which was uploaded on November 29th of 2022 to the Papa Rogers profile, the artist's name is Yi Shu. The caption reads, "What could be worse than war? It's hard to even imagine. Fighting for a country is a courageous and heroic action. However, a possibility to die for someone's interest does not sound too good. There were 2 world wars already, and I think nobody wants another one to happen. Nevertheless, sometimes there are other factors which you cannot impact." Yishu made a photorealistic portrait of an unknown old soldier. And here is what we wanted to achieve. In this piece, I tried to achieve photographic effect, to learn some lighting and hair techniques, and the reference is some image from the net. So I tried to identify who Papa Rogers was. I'm going to show you this. So Papa Roger is an early 1920s Red soldier. So I can identify it as a 1920s soldier, a World War I soldier versus a World War II soldier because of the shoulders. So as you can see on these Russian outfits, they have these shoulder pads and emblems. And by World War II, they had essentially done away with those shoulder pads because they wanted the outfits to not resemble the imperialistic army of the past. So what is the Red Army? In my personal opinion, let me pull up this Papa Rogers pic again. This is not a symbol of war to me. This is a symbol of godlessness. All right, let me go on. So when I'm identifying this soldier, it's called a Palatko hat. And if you look, there's a little red star in the corner. So generally, when you see a combination of this red star and this uniform, you're either dealing with a sniper or a medic. Okay. So what was the Red Army? Well, the Red Army existed while Stalin was in power. So the League of the Militia Godlessness, an organization employed by Joseph Stalin to storm the heavens, ridicule and humiliate clergymen, and transform superstitions from citizen into atheist. As someone who holds a spiritual channel, I'm all too familiar with what they're talking about. So Stalin tried to eradicate religion and God from the former Soviet Union. He did this with an atheist army, and they killed probably about 1,500 clergymen throughout the former Soviet Union in their attempts to eradicate religion. And it was almost like spread throughout the world, because we then had Mao and we had Pol Pot. And I'm going to make a very bold statement right now that a lot of people like to say, oh, religion has killed a lot of people throughout the world. But if you were to combine every religious war for the last 10,000 years and add up all the casualties, it wouldn't even be a fraction of the amount of people who have been killed by atheistic governments in like the last 100+ years. So the symbol that you're looking at when you see Papa Rogers is a symbol of godlessness and eradicating a religion. Okay, so let's get into the video. Sorry about that. God, and now I've said it 3 times and I forget what I'm saying. The point is this. Let me pull the Papa so you can see Papa Rogers in like the last 100+ years. So the symbol that you're looking. Okay, so let's get into the video. Okay, so let's get atheistic governments in like the last 100+ years. So the symbol that you're looking at when you see Papa Rogers. I'm gonna pause it there. I just wanted to pause it on Papa Rogers. So the point is that it's a symbol of godlessness specifically. So, I mean, I understand Yi Shu might have picked this symbol for, Yi Shu claimed she picked this for no metaphorical reasons. She had zero investment in the actual soldier. It was about practicing techniques, okay? But if somebody were to see this, if somebody were trying to tie it back to, say, the sickle and hammer symbol, or trying to make it look like it was affiliated with Stickergate, first off, they'd want it to, let me take the banner down because it's cutting that off. They'd want it to, if they wanted to tie it back to like Moscow, Soviet Union, they'd want that red star, you know, symbol there. But if they wanted to poke fun at a religious organization, well, what better way to do that than have a symbol of godlessness? You know, just saying. Rogers is a symbol of godlessness and eradicating a religion. Hey, Salty Grace. Okay, so let's get into the video.
Everything you see in this video is all allegedly pure speculation, going off my gut feeling, a hunch, and don't run with what I said. Yeah, I hope everybody's had a great weekend. Let's go ahead and get started.
I want to read this comment. I know this is off subject, but AR says, Meanie, thank you. One of the series coming later today, but I'm also planning on a full documentary style video coming out later based on the series. So AR is doing an Idaho 4 series right now. But I was just saying AR has a new channel, and I've been kind of working on a project for him, and he has some really, I know AR is going to be having some extremely polished videos coming out on his new format. And I know that because he has me working on a little project in the background, and I have this vision in my head. I don't know if it's actually going to turn out like this, but I have this vision in my head that it's going to be like in the style or the format of like a Dateline special or 2020 with the story that I'm working on. So you'll have to go check out AR's new channel and AR. And I'll get back to the story. Sorry, he's my crew. I had to stop.
What you're looking at right here is a post that was written by Papa Roger on December 1st, 2022. Now, for all you English majors out there, I'm sure that the first thing that you're able to spot are there's some errors in these sentences, okay? Mistakes, if you will.
So I want to bring this up because Annie Ruler, I don't know if I should say it. In the members live earlier, a lot of people are saying they still feel that Enon Harsh could be connected to Papa Rogers. And I said, well, I made my reasons why I didn't think Enon was possibly involved. But the one thing they did bring up is that, and oh gosh, I'm sorry I said first and last names. I'm breaking my own rules, but he did interject himself into the case. No offense or anything. The point that I'm making is this: as somebody pointed out, he does have intellect where he would be able to create a character that's kind of thinking on like a third level, because he has studied like some ancient philosophy books. So we know he does have intelligence. I just don't picture, I don't know if I picture this being his writing. I really think this was strategically done. The brevity in the comments, the specificness, but inferring some things that we really didn't know much about, such as the lack of evidence on the high side of the house and what evidence is allegedly was found on the high side of the house. And what's interesting about that is the PCA alludes to knowing the perpetrator came out of the sliding glass door. And if there was evidence on the high side of the house, it would have given them a reason to write that in the PCA. It would have shown what direction they came out of. And Papa Rogers did know about evidence on the high side of the house. He mentioned the sheath when it had only been mentioned another one other, major media source, not too groundbreaking, but, and then there were a couple other things. Hold on, Cyber Command. A stock account? I don't know what you mean. Like a stock? Like I don't know. I'm sorry, I wasn't planning on doing anything about Enon Harsh, so I'm probably saying things I shouldn't.
Most English teachers won't take off for these mistakes, but they'll probably circle it here. And as a reminder that this isn't the way you form a paragraph with these additional spaces that are in between these sentences.
Up here.
Where if you look at where the period ends in the word house and then the word they picks up.
I think at this point, I will say I have very, 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 like, I almost have no room left for thinking that Papa Rogers was a BK for several reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But I do like Max Smith made this comment, BK knows nothing about military history. We have learned nothing about him that would know such a specific symbolism. And all these things could be by chance, but I think most of us don't necessarily believe in coincidences. We either believe it's God or we believe it's manipulation. Yeah. Shut up and play the video.
Up.
Not the whole thing.
Somebody has manually tapped the space bar, either on their phone or their computer, to create additional spaces here. Okay.
The Tibetan Heart Yoga. It is a book that my mother gave me, and
okay.
Not to be written that way.
So listen, when we talk about Enon or whether he might have been involved, this was my argument, and I kind of forgot about it till I just skipped ahead. I actually made my argument into a video, so why I don't think it's him. So let's listen to that, and then we're going to move on to another subject, because I literally, like Jeff H says, how does he say it? He says, we're not going to just beat a dead horse. We're going to walk around it a few times and kick it.
Now, I've came to my own conclusions, my own opinion, and you're welcome to yours. But it's in my opinion that these are written by one and the same person.
Okay, that's the end of the video. And I feel kind of bad for Enon Harsh. Like, I think he thought he was doing something good, interjecting him into this case, but he appears to like made a lot of people implicate him. When we talk about this Papa Rogers photo right here, that clearly comes from, it's a godless symbol from the million-man atheistic army, okay? Now, this is Enon Harsh, all right? A self-proclaimed spiritual person, someone whose mother had them reading yoga books, okay? Let me read. I'm actually going to read you a quote from Enon, and you tell me if you think that this gentleman
would choose the godless symbol of the million-man atheistic army for his profile picture? So this is from Reddit. This is part of his AMA. All right, so tell me, if I hold Papa Roger's profile pic up, if you honestly think that these two go together. Because in my personal feeling is there is a lot more symbolism that would have been chosen by somebody who writes like this ahead of the symbol of godlessness. So here's the symbol of godlessness. And this is what Enon said. Before I go further, I'd like to share a meditation I personally have found very powerful in my healing process. I couldn't find the
Sorry. I just was putting this into further context if I didn't explain it well enough. I am reading actual writings from Enon Harsh while showing photographs of the million-man atheistic army and some of the World War II photographs as well, while reading Enon's writing and just trying to say, do you think this is the same person? You tell me. So I just want to set that up so you know why I'm saying this poetic thing while I'm showing photos of war. Personal feeling is there is a lot more symbolism that would have been chosen by somebody who writes like this ahead of the symbol of godlessness. So here's the symbol of godlessness. And this is what Enon said. Before I go further, I'd like to share a meditation I personally have found very powerful in my healing process. I couldn't find the book. It's from the Tibetan Heart Yoga. It is a book that my mother gave me, and I took it for granted, and I let it slip my gaze for almost a decade. Growing up homeschooled to high school, I had very different youth than most people in this country. I was very close to my mother, and I grew distant for years. Now that your light is more brilliant and expansive, it's time to think about someone you care deeply about who is suffering. Imagine them sitting in front of you in their own diamond and flower, and the light is dim and the diamond is barely an ember. Yet something is wrong. You can tell that they are not feeling well. You can sense their good. You can sense and see their sadness. Your own flower and diamond are shining bright. Still envision this. Think about the struggles that bring them to their suffering. Go deep into the delay without judgment. Think about the struggles, the sacrifices. I'm not going to go on, but it's very doubtful that somebody who's choosing the godless symbol for their profile pic would also be quoting the principal Upanishads. That's what I'm saying. If you have somebody who's read the Veda, or the Vedanta, or the principal Upanishads, these books that literally hundreds of religions were based off of, I just find it uncharacteristic that somebody who quotes the Veda would then go choose Stalin's symbol of the million-man atheistic army for their profile pic. But what it does show is that there was somebody godless that chose that pic. So let's just one more time take a look at this. And I decided to, because Papa Rogers continuously references a second weapon that could have been used, I decided to just, for the heck of it, find out what type of weapon was used by this early 20s Red Army soldier. And a lot of these soldiers were not, combat soldiers were not armed, actually, because many of them, it was the peasant army. Was also called the Peasant Workers Army, and they didn't have arms for all of them. So many of them had what was called trench knives, and they also had combat knives. These came out of fashion after that era. So ironically, the combat knife was taken after that small sliver of window, which this profile pic of Papa Rogers is based on. They stopped using this combat knife. Let me show you a picture of it, though, so you have an idea of what I'm looking at. It's just ironic. So this was the issued knife before combat knives became irrelevant to the Russian army just several years later. So anyway, this is my whole presentation on Papa. Okay, so we're going to stop there because I was actually looking for your comment, Meanie. There were two of them you made. you guys, there's actually several comments, and you guys are picking up on another point that's really important here is, okay, when did they find BK? Because if somebody knew about BK back on like, okay, I have all of his writings. I think he started on November 29th. So if they knew about BK back then, I mean, the resemblance, I mean, it's kind of uncanny, right? Wait, let me take down Mimi's comment. Hold on. The resemblance is pretty uncanny right there. You know what I'm saying? So like it does feel, and I say the word feel, not like it seems, it feels like everybody is saying. There's a couple of comments in here. Let me see. Yeah, the likeness is too much. But over again in my live chat, what you guys can't see is the people saying, you know, it is ironic that they picked a symbol not only that represented something that butts against the largest property, one of the largest property holders in that town, but also the suspect. When did they know about him? You know? All right, hold on. So, I mean, all I really wanted to do was this update with the Papa Rogers account today. I really wanted to do a reaction video, but I've already been live streaming for like 2 hours, so I probably should get off the computer. How about this? If you guys are up for it, I'd love to do a live stream tonight. They are my favorite thing, but I just can't sleep in all the time, so they're hard. But I'd love to do a live stream tonight at 10:30 because I have so much to talk about. Well, I want to react to Robert's video. And my husband, I'm just going to tell you something right now. My husband called me 2 hours ago. And he's, what time is it right now? It was more than 2 hours ago. It was like 3 hours ago. And he said, I had to leave. I was out to breakfast. He was out to breakfast with his brother. And he goes, I had to leave to get to a meeting and I couldn't finish my pancakes. He's like, I have 3 pancakes with real maple syrup. And do you want them? And I'm like, yes. That was 3 hours ago. Where is he with my damn pancakes? I'm so hungry right now. I don't usually eat breakfast, but when somebody says they're going to give me breakfast, I start getting hungry. So I don't know why I'm telling you this. Okay, I'll react. If you guys are up for it, we got 80 people here. Let's do it. I have Robert's video pulled up. Let's react. Let's see what Robert has to say. I actually pulled up a few more videos. Oh, I don't have it up. Hold on, let me just go into Discord really quickly. I'll be sure to turn it off afterwards so you guys don't have to listen to that little noise. All right, so this is Robert with True Crime Podcast. And AR, since you're here, just so you know, I was going to react to your video today, but I wasn't able to finish my research on it, so I couldn't. But I want to, maybe if I do a live stream tonight, I'll react to AR's video because you guys need to go check out his new series on Idaho 4. He did a few other true crime videos recently, but he's back to Idaho 4, and like right off the bat, he started making points that I really, really wanted to talk about on this show. So make sure to go check it out. Yeah. All right, let's do this, you guys. Robert, I do not know what he is going to say. Let me give it a like though. So please. Oh, my husband's here with the pancakes, you guys. Ugh. And just kind of wait. I'm going to tell you right now. I have never, ever heard of Scrapple until I hung out in Delco, you guys. I know, you just say it and you want it. But somebody said something about Scrapple up here. You guys, do you know what that is? I'm not even going to tell you what it is. But you can only get it in Delco. Like, I don't even think you can get it like where Christy is in PA. You can only get the Scrapple in Delco. I don't know what it is. Is it French Canadian? What is Scrabble? Well, don't tell anyone what Scrabble is in the chat, but I just haven't seen that. I haven't been to Philly in a long time. But yeah, you go to a diner and like people are eating their Scrabble. It's kind of like you don't want to know what's in a hot dog. Whoa.
In this case, be tainted. I mean, all honesty, could this evidence be tainted? Yes, it could be tainted. Because in that one court hearing we heard Brett Paynes state that they've lost some things. Exactly what did they lose? As well as in that same court hearing, he stated that the videos that they looked through, there was no sign of Brian's car on video.
Well, in that area that they were
Did they lose that video evidence? Possibly.
Okay, we're still
Everything
we're pausing.
surrounding this case.
We're gonna pause right here. I just want to back up what my streaming buddy Robert is saying right here with kind of what we've just studied over the course of the past 40 minutes, which is when they were prosecuting the case against Stickergate. Now, they didn't say in open court they lost the evidence. They said in open court they can't give us what they don't have. You know where else we heard that? Stickergate. Anyway, let's keep going.
Case has been fumbled and bumbled by the Moscow Police Department.
Preach.
At least the FBI sees that because they don't want to turn over the cast report. The FBI doesn't. Because look at Maury. Maury did a cast report without the AT&T cell tower data. And just like Cyree stated in the same hearing, without that data, that cast report is just a piece of paper. And we also have Brett Payne stating that he lets people smarter than him do his paperwork. So what does that say for the quote-unquote lead investigator in the case? Is he a blatant moron? Possibly. Or is he just lazy and wants people to do his paperwork and research for him?
I have another theory on that. I think that what he said might have been ambiguous enough where he doesn't want to play all his cards yet. The impression that I got every time I saw those the Moscow police on the stand was they were talking the way, and this isn't meant to be insulting. This is what I would do if I were in their position. You talk like you're in Congress and you say no things that could incriminate you or could be used to in the defense's strategy as they're talking. So, I mean, if he had, look how we're tearing apart the words where he said, you know, can't give you what you don't have. Can you imagine if he said something along the lines of, it's still who knows? Like, you know what I mean? So I do think he was being invasive, I guess. I don't know if invasive is the right word, but I don't know what the word is. I don't have the word. Let's go. Tell him, Robert.
Again, possibly. Yeah, as far as the whole Christ Church thing, which we know it's a cult, But is there any evidence of Brian being tied in with the Christ Church?
What? All right, you guys. We're just getting into it this morning. We just don't care anymore. All right. I have heard the rumors that Christ Church goes into the incarceration, the Latah County incarceration, the prison in Moscow. Could Doug Wilson? Yeah, it's very well. It's very possible someone from the Christ Church could have spoke to the defendant that we cover in this case. It's very possible a leader from the church could have spoke with him. Robert is right. They're active in that town. I'm sure they proselytize to the
I mean, it's possible. We don't know that for certain, but it sure is possible. Do I believe it? No. I don't believe Brian was tied in with Doug Wilson at the Christ Church.
Okay, sorry, Robert.
I really don't. Because we have Mr. No Quarter November, Doug Wilson, who apparently just put out a new video where he's burning bridges, or what, I guess that's a metaphoric thing for him, is burning bridges. But as far as the evidence goes in this case, I mean, I haven't seen it, and we've heard Nancy Grace state last night that about the crime scene photos. I don't believe she's seen them. The crime scene photos are sealed.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I mean, we all just like sit there like, criticizing Nancy Grace, but literally, did you hear what she said in that interview yesterday? Didn't you see the crime scene photos? That was her exact quote to all of us, because I have. You saw the crime scene photos? Did you misspeak? Like, maybe she's talking about the media photos. Maybe she's talking about that awful. There was. I mean, we can't deny there was a photo of blood that we saw. But I don't think that's what she meant. What did she mean?
Toxicology report sealed. The autopsy report sealed. So exactly how did Nancy Grace see the crime scene photos? I mean, yes, she is a former prosecutor. Did she pull some strings to see him? Possibly. But again, none of us has seen the autopsy report, the toxicology report, or the crime scene photos, because they're sealed. Under this gag order and until trial, they are sealed. So don't go believing everything you hear from these mainstream media darlings. But I do believe the jury pool there in Latah was tainted.
Okay. I don't care how many years. I don't care how many years a live stream on YouTube. I will never, ever be a mukbanger. I am not that true crimer. You know those true crime channels. Go if you, yeah. No. This is not a mukbanging channel, Kane. And by the way, Kane, welcome. We're glad to have you in the chat. Just wanted to clear that up.
By all the mainstream media, flooding Latah County and Nez Perce and Lewiston, as well as the Gonzaleses doing their own jury survey. Yes, I do believe the jury pool there in Latah was tainted because of everything. As well as I'm happy that they got this change of venue done, because Ada County is less hostile towards Brian. Because we know with the Latah County jury surveys, if he's found innocent, they would burn him at the stake. They would hunt him down and give good old boy justice. They would burn down the courthouse. They would have all the police officers fired. And physically, he wouldn't be burned at the stake.
Okay, what Robert is saying is so important. When we talk about the tainted jury pool, okay, it went far beyond people having impressions about Brian. I think that at the end of the day, how could a judge or a court review this case and see the statements that the citizens of this town are suggesting not only firing, but assaulting the employees of the town if they don't get a conviction, if they don't get the conviction that they want? Those have to be taken very seriously, because that's different, because that's somebody manipulating power. So when those types of statements, depending on how credible they were, I can see how they had a ton of weight to the Supreme Court. So I think Robert's hitting the nail on the head when he's talking about venue change right now. He's saying it much better than I am saying it. I don't know why I paused him.
That's figuratively. But they would, the good old boy justice is they would hang him. And then they would, either that or they would let the families finish him off. See, they're in Ada County, the same questions. There would be no indifference if he's guilty. It must mean he didn't do the crime. It's no big deal. See, that's the mob mentality there in Latah County, especially when it comes to Brian. That's the mob mentality. And I really wish in this case we wouldn't have mob mentality, but we do. And we do because of people like Nancy Grace, who's sitting up there on her pedestal each and every night, casting stones at Brian, saying, oh, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty, and then turning around and calling the people that support him and believe he's innocent, calling them not nice people.
Yeah, let's stop there, because Robert is specifically referring to NG. That's so the statement that Robert's making was in conjunction with her saying, how can you have seen those crime scene photos and still want to wait until trial, I guess, to form an opinion about PK? But here's the thing, Mrs. Grace, we haven't seen the crime scene photos. So, and maybe she has, because Heather's saying that other people have also seen the crime scene photos. So, but we haven't, and even if we did, how does seeing the photo change that somebody needs to see the evidence against them before we form an opinion? I think it's a really good point that Robert brings up.
And saying that we are worshiping Brian like he's a cult leader. See, when that expert stated that we're not nice people, and we're fanatics for Brian, we're not nice people, that right there made me mad.
It makes me mad too.
Because this man hasn't been convicted of a crime.
Okay, I'm so sorry I keep stopping him, but it makes me feel bad too. And that's the point. That's the point of propaganda. It's a lot more subtle than planting an idea in somebody's head. Propaganda is making people feel uncomfortable to express their opinion. So if you make someone feel stupid because they want innocent until proven guilty, they're going to stop talking. That's how propaganda works. You vilify the idea or vilify the thought of free thinking and talking, and then people don't want to talk. We all see it happening in our culture about certain subjects that become taboo to talk about. That's propaganda. That's what propaganda does. It's so much more subtle than just saying, believe this, don't look up, blah, blah, blah. That's not how propaganda works. It's sneakier. And it works on socioeconomic levels too.
It's not.
Drop it in the chat if I'm wrong. I don't care.
He has every damn right to face his accusers. And is innocent until proven guilty. So why can't the mainstream media allow that to take place? Seriously, guys. Why can't the mainstream media allow that to take place?
Exactly, Echoes.
Because I believe, guys, I believe they are paid crisis actors. I do. I believe they are paid crisis actors.
I know.
They're paid to be sensationalized. They are paid for their narrative. And who is paying them?
Who is paying?
I'd like to know that, guys. I'd like to know who's paying the mainstream media, like Nancy Grace, to spin.
This is an interesting point, because if they were being paid off the views themselves, then if the motive was money, we would see different stories being pushed. If you guys go check out Ray's most recent live stream, he talks about a boy who had unalived himself by the evidence that Cy brought up some blood spatter evidence that I think is kind of irrefutable. In my head, I'm pretty well convinced, although I haven't seen everything, that it was a self-unaliving. But people sensationalized it to the point where there was a mystery involved. So media is well aware of what will sell. So if Miss Grace is pushing something that won't sell, is there another source of revenue that would cause that to be the main story? Or am I getting all this wrong and it's just honestly how she feels, which might be the case. I mean, she is a former prosecutor. She might have confirmation bias for LE, and that's very possible. But I just believe when you have bias and you're reporting things, or you're a journalist, you have to at least state that you're giving editorial, that you're giving opinion, and you're not trying to, in an objective way, deliver a story. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I'm speaking so boldly, but I just feel like it. I just,
out their narratives. Is it the Gonzalez family? Because we all know that Nancy Grace had Steve G on. I believe it was a week ago, or a week and a half ago.
Yes.
And she was acting like he was king of her show.
I don't feel the same way.
Kissing his butt.
Well, I'm not. Look, you guys, I think there's enough to talk about in the cases right now where I'm just going to skip over this little part right here.
Suit.
Wait,
you don't like seeing him in a suit.
Are you watching Knight Rider in the background? Is that Knight Rider? I don't know. Drop it in the chat.
Because you want to see who is footing the bill for those suits, so you can hold that person accountable. Little secret here, Steve. It's none of your business.
I didn't mean to. I thought I was going to.
Who's getting those suits verified and approved?
Okay.
You tell them to leave your page, that they're not on the same page as you, and if you're not with us, you're against us. Imagine how that makes you guys look in other people's eyes that believe this man is innocent. Just because you're not on the same page as somebody doesn't mean that person doesn't want justice for your daughter, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. So how about this? Show some humility. Show some humbleness when it comes to people's feelings.
Okay, hold on a second.
And Maddie's stepdad.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
10.
Here we go.
Why so many people? You're gonna have more likely, Steve Jr., Autumn, Olivia, her husband, this elderly couple, and more likely probably the kids of all the freebies.
Here we go.
If they're getting all the freebies, why do they need to GoFundMe? And Steve and Christy also said that they want to go out and do some fun stuff with going to their daughter's trial during.
You know why I'm skipping over this is because I'm blissfully ignorant on this subject. I'm not sitting. You guys, I'm just gonna speak some truth to you. I'm uncomfortable criticizing the families about their GoFundMes. I'm just uncomfortable about it. I'm sorry. I know you guys bring up good points. I know you guys send me screenshots of this, that, and the other thing. I just, as a human, am uncomfortable criticizing these families about their GoFundMes. And I'm sorry about that. And Robert, I hope you're not offended that I'm skipping over your video. I just don't have enough knowledge to speak on it because I'm blissfully ignorant on this subject. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anymore. Anyway, so I do apologize to my audience. You can obviously sense I'm skirting over this story, and I'm sorry if you find it interesting. I'm just uncomfortable about it. Okay, there, I said it. Don't be mad at me.
And we know, guys, that
I'm hungry too, Kane.
the DNA evidence in this case, the touch DNA.
Here we go.
We know that's pretty much bunk because the button snap of a knife sheath, of a K-bar knife. Now, can someone down in the comments tell me if it's made out of brass? Because if it's made out of brass, then touch DNA won't stick to brass.
I'm going to stop for a second. So although he just likes to ignore us and pretend like he's not part of us, but he is, Get a Clue contacted the company that makes the sheath for that particular K-bar knife. And if I remember correctly, what he found out, and I don't know if you guys have more information, please drop it in the chat, but it wasn't strictly brass. Apparently they dipped the brass button before it's made into a sheath. So it's covered in some sort of, I don't want to know if it's like a ceramic coating, but some sort of paint or liner over it. Does that change how touch DNA is able to exist on it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But one thing I will say that's interesting about the touch DNA in that case, and this is just going on, without trailing onto thinking how any other conspiracy here, the touch DNA was under the lip of the inside. I can't even remember where I heard this. I might have heard this honestly on Nancy Grace. So if I'm wrong, actually, I know I haven't heard it anywhere official, but let's just say hypothetically, if the touch DNA was on the inside, I don't know if I can draw a picture for you guys. Like if this was the snap, so like the button, when it goes into it gets caught on that, like the DNA was in that trough of the button. It would be like this. I don't know. Fucking shut up.
And exactly how did they get to Brian to begin with?
Yeah, residents.
Because if you look at it, he went and changed his tags on November 18th.
At least you're not live streaming, Mimi.
Changed them from Pennsylvania to Washington. They didn't find his car until November 29th. And by that time, he had already changed the license plate because you had this one security guard, that was.
I'm not going to ruin, I'm working on, this is kind of, look, I'm doing a reaction video right now, but I am working my own editorial video like Robert's right here that I want to put out. I have reason to believe, somebody has shown me a couple of things. I'm going to present to you why I think maybe the FBI knew about Brian before the 29th. It is hard because every time we hear about anything that has to do with before the 29th, it always boils down to blah, blah, blah in their book. And blah, blah, blah says he has a source within the FBI. But a couple of things that blah, blah, blah has said haven't checked out very well. And so I don't know. Let's keep going.
Was looking through logs at, I believe it was 12:28 a.m. They were looking through logs. They came across Brian's Elantra.
I hope you feel better.
Saw it was registered to Pennsylvania. That exact same night, you had about an hour later, you had another officer go out looking for cars, looking for Elantras. Came across Brian's. See, in the book, there in the guard shack, it was registered to Pennsylvania. But when the guard got to his car, it was registered to Washington. It was registered to Washington. So there's a discrepancy somewhere.
Saudi, thank you for bringing that up. And hopefully I'm going to be able to bring some, not receipts, the best I can do as a YouTube receipts, AKA screenshots. But I think I can make a nuance to show that. Anyway, you'll see. Thank you for agreeing. I'll probably do that one tonight. So, because I was going to do Robert's reaction video tonight, I'll do my editorial tonight for you guys. I'll work on it after supper. The FBI knew.
Because if they didn't get to his car until the 29th, well, we all know that he left with his dad to go back across the country to Albrightsville.
Okay, I think that closed courtrooms, unless you are trying to try someone for something that is a national security issue, why would you close a trial? I mean, this is the center point of our freedom of speech and freedom of the press, is so that tyrants can't rule society with an iron fist. If you have closed courtrooms, how is it that the press is unable to cover the power in the judicial powers? Like, if the press can't be there to report on what's going, that means people are trying people behind closed doors. You have the right to face your accuser. You should know what the evidence is, but that's public knowledge. That truly goes against the heart of our entire judicial system. Like, why would you ever close a case unless it has national security issues? What evidence could you possibly have that, I mean, I can't see it being closed.
For Christmas vacation.
Andrea Burkhart was the one who said that. I mean, Andrea Burkhart was the one who drove that point home to me recently when she was headed out to Delphi and she was being told press wasn't going to be able to be in the courtroom. Like, that's a constitutional issue. And that's what she's saying. She's like, no, this is the bottom line, is we need to be able to see what power is doing with their power. This isn't a dictatorship. It's a constitutional republic.
And he more likely had plans returning to Pullman after Christmas break. But see, what happens? You have the FBI or whoever it was tracking his car. Now we know it wasn't Moscow PD or Pullman. because Brett Payne got an update, more than likely from the FBI, that his car had was scanned by a tag reader in Loma, Colorado.
You know,
And see what I think.
You know,
those 2 stops.
Mittens for kittens, blah, 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 doesn't need any more press, even if it's my small platform.
In Indiana, I think they were controlled stops. I do. I think they were controlled stops. Because how can a person get pulled over 2 miles apart for the exact same thing, following a van too closely? Because he gets pulled over by the Indiana state police or state trooper for following too closely. Okay, they let him go. You know, after the officer and him and his dad was chit chatting, and that's when they were telling the officer about Brent Kopacka getting shot, because it more than likely came across Brian's text alerts, you know, that there was an incident there around the campus, and the incident was taken care of. So that was more than likely the Kopacka thing, because when you're going from Pullman across the country, when he got pulled over in Indiana, it was like 6 o'clock, and it was like 6 o'clock in the evening. So that thing with Kopacka, I think it happened earlier than that. But anyway, and then he gets pulled over again like 2 miles down the road for the exact same thing, following too closely. So are those controlled stops? I mean, honestly, are they controlled?
Okay, so the one thing I will say that is a little smidge more than a rumor, and I'm not going to play the TikTok right now. I have played the TikTok at least 3 or 4 times in the past week, but I have it. It's in all my new videos. You can actually see it. I have it in a live stream. Like, if you go to the live stream that says oddities in the search warrant, it's at the end of that one. So if you want to go watch it, you can watch that. Meanie says, hypothetically, if the FBI knew that BK knew about BK early and were taunting him, do you think they did it to others too? Thinking 4chan theories in this regard. If you watch that TikTok video, her claims are that the connections were done, that there was something in 4chan that tipped that off. I don't know why I'm stopping the video to tell you guys that. I should shut up.
Stops. Because if you look at it, it was November 30th when the FBI and the local SWAT raided his parents' home and arrested him at 3 something in the morning. Because they more than likely had probable cause, even though I don't believe they had probable cause, because you had the FBI take some of the trash from out in front of his parents' house, had it flown back to Idaho, and tested at the ISP forensics laboratory, because around this time they already had Brian's DNA.
I would say like definitely. I worked in a hospital during that time too, and I mean, it was crazy. We had all these new jobs. Like, I would volunteer. Like, we'd have to have this like station where we checked people's temperatures, and I'd like do the overnight shift. We just needed I mean, you didn't do it for free. You got paid, but like, it was such a volatile situation. My heart, you know, God bless the nurses. I know what they went through, and they also had to go into an unknown situation in many instances. I don't know why I am so chatty today. I want to point out, while I have this video paused, this is Robert's new chair. And Robert, I think you have a new shirt on too. You look very good. But I think it's, Robert was really excited. So this is the first time I'm seeing his new gaming chair, and he looks very comfortable. I just want to say that. But it's nice to see Robert all laid back.
And CODIS wasn't a match because Brian wasn't a felon, so he wasn't in CODIS. So did they manipulate everything to pin this on Brian? Possibly. Because if you look at it, familial DNA, I mean, it's a thing, guys. Familial DNA. Could there be a close relative to Brian that shares the familial DNA of his dad? Now, I'm not saying Brian did it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is DNA is unreliable. And in most courts, DNA is inadmissible.
Well, I mean, yes, I have my questions about DNA and I want to know everything, the chain of custody. I want to know the whole, okay, for me, DNA and IgG are some of the most valuable law enforcement tools that we can have. They've helped us recently solve some heinous crimes with people we never would have been able to find otherwise. The point is this, though. Right now, we have DOJ guidelines for how we handle certain types of information, such as IgG. What that means is courts have never ruled on certain things, and some people are saying that they're uncomfortable because it appears there is no system of checks and balances without having some sort of law in place. Because let's say you break DOJ guidelines, maybe you might lose your job, but do you go to jail? And if your job is to if somebody's life is on the line, I mean, here we're talking about Brian, but it could be you. It could be someone you love. If your life is on the line and, without that checks and balances or just blindly testing, because that was something that Thought Riot podcast brought up before. And when they were talking about the touch GNAs, they're like, look, we're not saying people are bad, but don't even give the opportunity for somebody to be bad. Just have blind testing. So if you're testing something, you don't know it's coming from this or that. I don't know. These are all questions. I'm not a scientist. Maybe I don't understand it enough. I'm really hungry. I want my pancakes.
And I believe that we're going to see some Frank's hearings come up, guys. Ann Taylor's going to before trial, Ann Taylor's going to start suppression of evidence. Now, mark my words, she's going to try to suppress the DNA and a bunch of other stuff. Brian is not going to take a plea. No, he's not. He is fighting.
I'm just going to say, Jeff, I've never heard anyone say that before, so I'm just going to read it out loud. Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn. Jeff says, I'll betcha a coffee that female officer that pulled over Brian and got to hear all about the lack of crosswalks in Pennsylvania will be important part of law enforcement pinpointing Brian's Elantra. I don't know. Maybe if you're a police and you're watching, would you remember? That was October 13th, right? It was 1 month prior. I mean, would that have stuck out in her head? It was such an uneventful stop, unless she actually did like him and because they were kind of flirting. I don't know. What do you think? Drop it in the chat. Were they flirting?
For his life to prove his innocence. He wants to be exonerated. And I sure hope he is exonerated. Is guilty until proven innocent, and mainstream media be damned. That's all I can say. Mainstream media be damned.
Yeah.
They want us all to believe that this man is guilty and this man deserves to die. Brian has a right to defend himself. against these accusations. He has a right to face his accusers. He has a right to a fair trial. And I'm sorry, guys, he is not going to get a fair trial in the eyes of the mainstream media. He's not. And if you look at it, the prosecution is going to have one tough battle ahead of them, even trying to get this man convicted, because that beloved PCA, which is irrelevant right now, it is irrelevant, has so many holes and half truths and vagueness, it will never fly. Like always, guys, like, subscribe, and comment my channel. Hit that bell notification. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads. And make sure you click all so you get all my new uploads and hear my deep dives and my thoughts and my opinions. This is Robert with True Crime Podcast. I'm out. Peace.
I'm just seeing if he has an outro before I let you guys go, or if he's just stopping it.
Stay in the house. Lock the door.
Like, what? Okay, I just wanted him to get his whole outro. So I'm just going to put Robert's banner so you know where to find my friend. And I do have a point. I just want to put the banner up before there. That's Robert's handle. Please go check out his channel. What I was going to say is, you know, obviously Robert streams with me. You guys all know he spent hours and hours listening to me talk about crap. So he knew when he sent me that video, the things that were going to trigger me and the things I want to talk about. So I just want to actually give a special thank you to Robert for recognizing that I would want to react to that video. And you brought up points that I think are really important. And I don't know if I ever would have cared or spoke up about things. Before this case, you guys, I'm going to be honest. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Before this case, I don't know if I ever would have gone and spoke up against my feelings on death penalty or my feelings on how police handle evidence. Like, I always thought I wouldn't have the privilege to even talk about something like that. And I mean, I never thought twice about it. And now just looking at the way this case is handled, even in an objective way where I'm not looking at BK as innocent or guilty, like I see the serious problems and I see clearly how they could be a threat to any of us. So I just bring them up. I don't know what the answers are, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong. So I hope you guys know, as the banner says, everything I said is speculation, commentary, and simply my opinion. Please do your own research to form your own opinions. And I recommend you watching any of these videos on your own and not just taking my word for it. And I hope you get my sense of humor. I was joking for half of the things I said in this live stream. With that said, I love you all, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to read the rest of the chat when I go. I got to go. My husband's home. I got to go spend time with him. And he has pancakes with real maple syrup. So I got to go. I love you guys. Have a